Hey everyone, Meinke here from MLive&apos, joined by Justin Rogers. We're at Lambeau Field where the Lions have just lost 30-20, Justin, and it's really a disappointing finale to the regular season for the Lions. Came into this game with high hopes of ending that Lambeau skid, and they felt like they had the team to do it, defense to do it. Aaron Rodgers was hobbled, left the game in the first half. His cards in the locker room. At that point, you're thinking they really have a shot at winning this game. And they lose again under more struggles from the offense, more blunders on special teams. What was your big takeaway from this game?
You know, the one you didn't mention that surprised me the most was the struggle of the defensive line today. You know, this is a group that's been so good all year long. They've had very few blips on the radar, and this is a game where they didn't get pressure on a hobbled quarterback, and they allowed Eddie Lacy to pretty much do what he wanted. Had 100 yards, the first running back to go for 100 this year. Looked very good doing it, broke a lot of tackles. The lanes were there, the cutback lanes were there, and if this defensive line isn't good, then the whole credibility of the defense starts to kind of crumble behind them.
Yeah, it was kind of a wonky day a little bit from the defense,
Sure.
and look at James Ahedibo. Really a good season from that guy. I mean, he's been a top 10, top 15 safety for most of the season after sitting out a couple of games to begin the year, and actually got benched. I mean, it was a non-injury thing. He was benched in the third quarter for most of the third quarter and into the fourth. Did come back for a stretch there, but it was just a bizarre thing. No one was really talking about it after the game. Ahedibo was obviously disappointed and so forth, but it's just a bizarre move with one of your veterans, one of your leaders on defense. The whole year, and the season finale at Lambeau with the division championship on the line. Third quarter, Aaron Rodgers is coming back, and you have Ahedibo on the bench, and you have to really wonder what was going on there, because does playing Abdul Qudus really give you the best chance of beating Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau? Probably not.
You don't see that guy miss a lot of tackles. He misses some, but
Yeah.
He definitely missed some in the first half today. Had a shaky first half. He made up for it on his biggest missed tackle by forcing a fumble in that second quarter.
Yeah.
But I think the coach wanted to go a different direction, and then of course Abdul Qudus misses a big tackle that leads to a big gain. So right back to Ahedibo.
Abdul Qudus, to his credit, did have the blocked field goal on special teams, and that it felt like maybe that was the turning point for the Lions. That here comes this another fourth quarter comeback or second half comeback, as the Lions have done all year with big plays. And then first play, Joik Bell fumbles the ball. Packers go the other way, score a touchdown. Lions were never in it again, and I mean that was just a blow, I thought, for the momentum in the second half.
I caught him leaving the locker room today. He just said it was a blown exchange. It was really disappointing given the way he ran in the first half. I mean, he was just phenomenal. He was following suit with Lacy in terms of breaking tackles, running hard. It really looked like it was almost going to be a head-to-head matchup in a lot of ways, and that was going to be the story of how those two running backs performed. But that Bell fumble really, was the turning point of this entire game.
Outside of Kelvin Johnson, I think Joik Bell might be the Lions' best offensive player of the past month and a half. Go back 5 or 6 weeks, he might be the Lions' best, or at least most consistent offensive player outside. I mean, more so than Golden Tate. I mean, Joik Bell's really come alive in the second half of the season. It's giving the Lions some life there in their run game. And actually, I thought they ran the ball better than what I was anticipating, given the problems they had in the offensive line with no Dominic Raiola, no Waddle. So you had basically, and then Warford goes out in the second quarter of this game. So you're starting Travis Swanson. You're playing Travis Swanson at center. You're playing Garrett Reynolds at right guard, and then you have Cornelius Lucas at right tackle. That could have been a mess.
Just like how they drew it up in the preseason.
Yeah, right. But then, I mean, 111 rushing yards. They actually got some production out of Bell, and I think you have to be pleased with what they were able to do against the Packers defense that had been playing pretty well.
What I don't understand, given the fact that they got that run game going, and they've had it going for about coming on 2 months now, is why the passing game hasn't become more consistent. Defenses are having to pay more attention to that. They're running a ton of play action. You don't just run play action for no reason. You feel like it's drawing defenders, moving them. The pass game was completely ineffective again today. They had the 2-game stretch against two fairly poor defenses, but if this team is going to pull an upset off in Dallas, they're going to need Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Golden Tate, that whole system to get going, or they're going to get run out of that gym.
Stafford finished 20 of 41 passing for 217 yards, 2 more sacks, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Again, which you have to like. He set a career low for receptions in the season. with 12, and I think you have to like that part of his game. But the offense has not been consistent enough. And I talked to Rob Sims in the locker room after the game, and he's talking about all these pieces they have and all these guys, and it's just like you have all these names on offense, and yet you are here in now week 18, going into week 18, and the offense still hasn't put it together. It still has not put it together. And I asked him, why hasn't this happened? I don't know. And that's not the answer you want to hear from a team that's entering the playoffs at this point, that really doesn't have something, a bread and butter on offense, that they just don't have at this point, identity that works for them.
It was really interesting. You saw Eric Ebron get going in the first half today, downfield nonetheless. That's something we haven't seen for weeks, months, and he had 2 long catches. He had his personal best 22-yard reception, and you're thinking, okay, now that's opening up the middle of the field, you're going to see some more on the outside. Calvin Johnson, under 50 yards. Golden Tate, under 50 yards. Theo Riddick jumped in there and got some production late, but he didn't do much. Reggie Bush didn't do much. It just was an anemic passing attack with no rhythm, and without that rhythm, they really never had a chance today.
You're a leader in receptions for the Lions. Do you know who it is?
I think it was Theo.
It was Theo Riddick with a couple of late receptions, and actually out-caught Calvin and Tate both. Tate led the way with in terms of receiving yards, but yeah, that's how anemic the passing offense was. There was just nothing really happening there with Stafford and his connection to his receivers. You have some great talent there, but the production has been intermittent. I think at some point it has to come back to Joe Lombardi. It has to come back to the scheme that these guys are being put in, because it's a week in and week out thing with great players who aren't producing. At some point, it's got to come from the scheme. You have to call that into question, because it's not getting the job done at this point.
And you mentioned the special teams. It's like it's something different every week. Today Jeremy Ross played well. He had a couple nice returns, and you saw the blocked kick. Well, then the coverage units blow it, and they.
That was a huge play.
It was the first score of the game. It completely stole the momentum away from that huge goal line stand in the first quarter, and then you had the weird kickoff with Sam Martin that trickled out of bounds, gave Aaron Rodgers a 60-yard field to work with, which he turned into a touchdown.
Yeah.
2 huge plays that cost the Lions. You can say cost them 14 points, at least 10. So it's 2 weeks in a row where the special teams really put them in a bad spot, and it's something that's been going on all season long. Where whether it was the kicking game early in the season, it's just always something with special teams that can't get a full game out of the third phase.
And when it's working, it's one of those things you don't really think about. And then when it's not working today, it's the Lions put in so much good work in stopping the Packers in that goal line stand. 7 plays from inside the 10-yard line. 5 plays from inside the 3-yard line, and you get a stop and 0 points. That could be a huge play, and then you punt it the other way, and they just return it back for 7 anyway. I mean, that completely flips the complexion of the game at that point, and yeah, that's a huge blow for a team. And you got the blocked kick again, the blocked field goal, but it's hit or miss with the special teams, and that's when you go into the playoffs. Right, it's where it's win or go home. It can be any one play that can end your season, and you have to show up these special teams, or it would be a shame to waste this whole season, the goodwill and the first year of Caldwell and this great defense, all because you can't cover a punt or you can't cover a kick. This is something the Lions really need to work on.
They're going to go down to Dallas next week.
Yep.
That's a good football team. The stat I've been throwing out there is they've won 11 of their last 12 when Tony Romo was healthy and played the whole game. They got worked over by the Eagles, but their other 2 losses in that stretch to Washington, Arizona, Romo either didn't play or didn't finish. Yep. That team is scoring a lot of points right now, probably the best offensive line in football. Not a great defense, but an adequate defense, and let's face it, this isn't a great offense we're seeing from the Lions right now, so they really need to step up their game if they're going to want to compete in that one. 2
reasons to like the Lions' prospects in this game. One, Dallas is not a very good home team. They're 4-4 at home. It's pretty bizarre. They're much better on the road. 4-4 at home. And the second reason, they get a lot of their work done offensively on the ground. DeMarco Murray is an amazing tailback, great offensive line, as you alluded to. But what's the Lions' strength? It's their rush defense. It's really good. Bad today against Eddie Lacy, and that might be concerning, but throughout the year, the Lions have been A+ in terms of rush defense. I mean, they had a chance to go after the NFL record today for rushing yards allowed in a season. So 2 reasons to like the Lions early going into this game.
For sure. I think this is an alarming sign against Lacy, who runs that similar north-south style that Murray runs, can bounce off tackles, just hits one lane on a cutback. They're going to have to clean up their tackling. You can't miss tackles. If you miss tackles, give them yards after tackle, you're going to be in for a very long day in that game.
That's what we got from Green Bay. Lions fall 30-20. lose the division title, but they do have something to play for, and they do play on something you can't say every year for the Lions. They play in Dallas on Sunday in the late game, about a 4:30, 4:40 start, I believe, if memory serves. We'll both be down there, so keep it here right at MLive. For Justin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.